4 hours? That's kind of crazy, no? I saw some debate online on how they were going to fit everything into 10 episodes, and I mean, I guess now we know. Because this is longer than the previous 2 episodes combined. We really got the Snyder cut for the Taekyun episode, man. What a time to be alive. In this video that isn't 4 hours long, we're going to be talking about episode 3 of Bloody Game X, the new spin-off of the Bloody Game series, my favorite Korean survival game franchise. Y'all know, full spoilers for everything, Bloody Game, The Genius, University War, Exchange, etc. Let's talk about it. This episode covers the first deathmatch and second money challenge of the season, but let's start at the beginning, okay? So as Team R's just immediately lost the opening game, they were completely absent from the first 2 episodes of the season. And so even though we know how they're doing, the complete absence of them does really build up excitement for this flashback. So the episode starts exactly like that, right? Right where we left them, where we get to see the rookie team's POV of killing time in the wilderness until production tells them otherwise. The format of the outdoor survival area or the basement level is the exact same as the previous 2 seasons. The first 30 minutes of this episode is like exactly as you would expect, them just playing Animal Crossing IRL. That being said, the basement level never gets old. Even though it's like nothing new, the sight of these people forced to sit on buckets and makeshift dirty blankets will always make you feel attached to them. It's just the classic sidemen good team versus bad team hook, where viewers get emotionally invested in the team with drastically poorer living conditions and a lack of the basic necessities, especially when you contrast them to their peers in a mansion. But the main notable difference is in the Phantom Casino or Ghost Casino, as these players have been temporarily exiled into the wilderness with nothing to do. So like for both their entertainment and the viewers' entertainment, the Phantom Casino has now been brought back once again with a new game. Real ones remember that the original variation of the Phantom Casino in season 1 was that they would lock these people up in the basement and then make them fold pizza boxes for money. And then they would just use that money to play a gachapon machine. The coin generation system this time is that production provides them with infinite garlic, and they get coins to play depending on how much garlic they peel and grind. But actually, since they can exchange any food for coins, Sungyang was turning frogs into coins, which is crazy, okay? I actually do not condone the sensationalizing of that, because I'm pretty sure frogs breathe through their skin, and so like the oil from your skin can harm them. It's not like the season 2 chicken. 10-piece nugget meal combo. But the Phantom Casino game this time, when they previewed it with B-roll, I actually had to rewind to make sure I wasn't seeing things. It's a Hexbug Nano betting game. Dude, I have not seen this toy since I was in like elementary school. I thought these things were so cool when I was like 9. You'd see them in every commercial bookstore or department store as like a nerdy kid's toy. This isn't the same brand that we had here in North America when I was growing up. But once the sun sets and the Phantom Casino is open, they play this Hexbug Nano game, aka Money Bug game, and they tragically lost almost every dollar that they worked for. But I just thought, I was so thoroughly invested in this. I love this kind of stuff, which I guess is just gambling. This is a lot less skill-based than Season 2's Phantom Casino game, where you have to press the buzzer at exactly 10 seconds without looking at the clock. This one, they just released this toy bug onto a board, and you just bet where you think it's gonna go. Even though they can kind of alter the board, I swear there's more than enough room for the bug to just like traverse wherever it desires. So I'm really not surprised they lost their money, basically. I was surprised though that they managed to hit the 5x jackpot twice and didn't stop. I wouldn't either, but considering that their team leader is very risk averse, actually, you know what? We'll talk about all that later. But as of this point in the episode, Quackbum is the leader of Team R. He just immediately took charge as the oldest. But actually, by the end of this episode, Quackbum still probably holds the position, but Guan, he really feels like their leader, and he should be. But yes, never gamble, kids. Like, they lost it all. After that little filler episode, we cut back to the main building where everyone's still preparing for the deathmatch minus P3. Last episode, we only got a hint on who Team P2 would send, but now we get the full decision-making process for each of the 3 teams. You guys already know, okay? Team P1 is cohesive! Like no other in this, okay? Immediately after the deathmatch is announced, Sangmin, my goat, immediately turns to the team and said, I will do the deathmatch, okay? I take responsibility. My plans were what lost us the game, okay? End of discussion. Not really, because Taekyun goes instead. Not gonna lie, I was so scared when Taekyun decided to volunteer because we just can't lose him, man. We can't. More on this later, but that's like the Mavs losing Luka, okay? But again, Team P1, strong, positive attitude. Taekyun, he said, put me in, coach. I think we'll need Sangmin for later. So let me go in there, win, come back. Boom. Now, this already paid off because we'll get to it, but Sangmin at the end of this episode initiates the forbidden link up and makes the deal to get his entire team through the money challenge. I just really don't think that deal ever happens without Sangmin. Taekyun's an amazing player. This episode proves that, but he literally could not win that money challenge without that deal. And he's also just not the type of player to make deals like that in the first place. That's just the result of pure politics, which is Sangmin's specialty. But also, was Sangmin sick filming this? I noticed it before, but he's just like super masked up and low energy. Still putting in work though, okay? For Team P2, we know that Ha Sungjin already volunteered to do the deathmatch. He did it while the first money challenge was still happening. But Yeonbi and Sungju even asked him if he wanted to make Jinhyung do it instead as like a cop-out. And he's like, nah, don't worry about it, guys. Like, it's already decided. I'm gonna go. Yo. Well. Okay. This episode starts and we get the walk back of doom. Yo, this guy was the first Korean to be in the NBA and now he's doing the James Harden step back. Okay, that's tough. This guy, whose entire personality last episode was about selflessly and honorably going to the deathmatch for his team to just relax and not risk themselves. Yo, as soon as the announcer tells everyone that the deathmatch is a spatial perception game, ooh, guys, spatial perception? I can't do that, bro. I'm just horrible with directions. No, I'm definitely losing this, bro. Yo, the whole team side-eyeing him. What's crazy, though, is that this isn't even the biggest walkback of the episode. I can't believe it's only now, after the game is done, that they're calling Ha Sung-jin out for this questionable decision to go to the deathmatch. Boys, like, where was this energy and enlightenment during the game? But Yunbi sat down and said, yo, be for real, bro. Like, obviously nobody wants to go home early during the show. He even said, look, like, we all know he's gonna lose, which is dastardly, by the way. Every time I see Yunbi in one of these shows, in my heart of hearts, okay, I slowly and unwillingly become a bit more of a fan. With as much love and respect as I can give while saying this, bro is just bad at games, it is what it is, while also just being a mega yapper. So cheering for him in, like, one of these shows is, like, a guilty pleasure. But not gonna lie, he's really a rapper, okay? Every dollar from that Bobby Shmurda feature was deserved, okay? Because this guy was spitting nothing but facts off rip. He's like, why is Ha Sung-jin complaining right now? He said the entire day he would go to the deathmatch. Now he's like, nah, like spatial awareness, I'm so bad at being aware of space. Like, bro, what is this? You said you would run it, go run it. He just can't get behind that mentality. And I actually respect that. Even more than that, though, there's still the whole Jin-hyung debacle, where Yunbi and Sungju really want Jin-hyung to do the deathmatch, okay? And Yunbi is actually the first person to say, look, Sungju, let's just tell him, like, this is how we feel and ask him to do it. W respectful confrontation. And Sungju's like, you know what? Yeah, like, bro is definitely gonna throw a tantrum, but secretly voting him out is just pretty lame. Like, let's just ask him to do the deathmatch. And so they do that, and to the surprise of no one, Jin-hyung does not take too kindly to this. Yo, props to Jin-hyung, bro. He came back on the show with aura, okay? Fresh cut, new glasses, more muscle on the frame, you know? Even the shots that the cameramen, like, take of him are just, like, quite menacing. For the first 2 episodes, he had PR training, but the mask finally faltered when they pressed him. He really chuckled with nothing but anger inside and said, you snakes. Yunbi is totally right when he tells the interviewer that Jin-hyung is a man who never takes responsibility. When he made his biggest mistake in season 2, messing up calculations and causing his entire team to lose, he put all the blame on someone else just to keep himself safe. He would never willingly risk himself for any reason, okay? Including the team. This is an episode where Jin-hyung gets major screen time. I don't know if I said this yet, but I see so much Jin-hyung hate, like, online in Western forums. As a big Dex fan, I was very distressed watching season 2, but now, not to the same degree, but I think I would consider myself a very rare Jin-hyung fan. He's actually pretty unintentionally funny, I find. The interviewer actually asks, like, him if he's upset, and he's like, I mean, I'm not upset, but there's still snakes. Which, like, I don't know, it's kind of funny. Despite actually having a pretty poor performance this episode, he is by and large their best player. Ha Sung-jin actually came with a good point for once, which is that if they lose Jin-hyung, the whole team is cooked, okay? Any of the other teams lose any of their members, they'll be all right. Even like P1 without Taekhyun, who is their carry, just has like the tiniest sliver of hope, but P2 needs Jin-hyung to have any shot of winning. That being said, Jin-hyung perfectly understands the situation. He drags it for a while because he truly doesn't want to comply. But he tells the interviewer, yeah, that guy Yunbi, like, the moment that snake caught me, I was doomed. Like, they say it's not really, but it really is just a democratic, like, 3v1 vote. So I can either choose the deathmatch honorably, or these 3 will just force me to pack my bags. And so he goes, and he has a horrible time in this deathmatch. But let's talk about Team C and the start of this absolute rage bait. So the Team C segment starts with Yoo-hyun telling his team about his predictions of who he thinks the other teams are going to send. And without even mentioning his name, he points, like, down at Big Woo, and he says, yeah, I think P1 might drop their dead weight. And listen, okay? Is he wrong, though? Well, yes, actually, because P1 does not operate like that, okay? Segment said, we lost because of me. I'll go. Taekhyun said, nah, I'm better than all of them. Put me in. His premise that Big Woo is their weakest member is true. But I don't want to hear from this guy, bro. I don't care. Because, like, what has this guy done in the first 3 episodes? Sure, Big Woo is the worst player on Team P1. Although, arguably, it's Jimmy right now, actually. But, yo, you have been the worst player on the show. Now that this is aired, I never want to be subjected to any Yoo-hyun glaze ever again, okay? I knew before even watching this episode that Team C would send Kim Nam-hee. These editors, man. As soon as Yoo-hyun says the words dead weight, the camera immediately pans to her face. And she even said in her interview, like, yeah, like, once they started talking, I knew immediately that the 3 boys would just kick me out like that. The clips of them trying to hide it are so lame, bro. Yoo-hyun's like, yeah, well, nobody, like, deserves to do the deathmatch. You know, we all did our best. Except maybe we can all just individually, without talking with another, just, like, kind of vote who did the least. And we gotta talk about this Kyung-hoon persuasion methodology. Dude, he was acting like Sangmin from Wish. He was on some we got the black magician at home type of timing, just straight up lying and making up random rules, but not even to like other teams, like just to his own team. He's just making stuff up to his teammates saying, oh, the eliminated person will leave our team to join another. Bro, that's not even a rule. You stole Sangmin's flow, word for word, bar for bar, all just to kick Namhee off your team. Like, that's unbelievable, okay? And you know what's crazy? I've seen most of Time Hotel now. I maybe have like 3 episodes to go where Namhee was a contestant, so I'm actually not a big Namhee fan because she didn't do like too well on that show. But it's no wonder that she had no screen time in the last 2 episodes because they finally show her interview clips here and everyone else was speaking Korean and Namhee chose to speak facts. Dude, like, she says that she had, like, very much had an opposing viewpoint to the way her team played the game, where, as I said in my last video, they always had, like, a shot at first place, which would keep them all safe and rich, but for some reason, Yoohyun, nobody wanted to go for it. It's really unfortunate that the hierarchy of Team C is, like, Yoohyun, Kyung-hoon, and then Namhee and Jihoo at the bottom, when it should just be the opposite way around. I also watched University War Season 3, and I'm also not a big Jihoo fan, but man, were his interviews this episode music to my ears, okay? Because we get to find out that Jihoo also has some resentment for his team. Yo, not gonna lie, this team is actually cooked. Like, it's actually really unfortunate for Jihoo because this team actually would have a decent shot under his leadership. When it's the 4 of them, though, I think if either Yoohyun or Kyunghoon gets eliminated, then the other one can lead the team in their place. But with the dual leadership like this, it's just not working out. But since he's the youngest, all he can do right now is just hit the speed face and go crash out in his interviews. Like, that's tough, bro. He goes up to Yoohyun and he's like, wait, guys, I have a question. Why didn't we just win the game? And Yoohyun's like, not the time, little bro. There's a time and place for betrayal. And Jihoo's like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, I get it. It must be to ally with Team P2, P3 in the long run, right? And Yoohyun's like, oh, yes, 3-team alliance, right? Yeah, that means nothing now. That's over. Jihoo better than me, bro. Western sensibilities have made it so that I can never hold it together until the interview like he did. He actually lets it slip a bit, though. He takes a deep breath and he's like, sorry, Yoohyun, sir. Can you tell me again why we didn't just win? If it didn't matter if we betrayed the alliance or not, then we wouldn't have to do, like, the deathmatch at all. And Yoohyun's like, I mean, you didn't know that P1 would ally with us. Yoohyun really fell off, man. Like, first of all, the argument doesn't even make sense because the only way you escape doing the deathmatch is if Team P1 allies with you, right? So you might as well ask them. That's like not applying for a job like you really want. Like, if they say no, your life just doesn't change, but if you get it, you're just better off. Like, there's zero risk, all benefit. But this is the start of the Team C collapse because from Jihoo's perspective, he could have won the game, but management just stopped him, so he's annoyed. And Namhee just got... Yo, she just got unilaterally thrown to the deathmatch, so there's just no trust left to be found anywhere except between Kyunghoon and Yoohyun. Foreshadowing. But they begin setting up for the deathmatch, and it's looking real grim for Namhee, not gonna lie. Because she's going up against the Season 1 champion and the Season 2 champion as an early Time Hotel dropout. So production, when they called it out, it kind of did her dirty too, because they were like, okay, Team P1 is sending out Lee Tae-kyun. And then everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're bringing out their best player. And then they call out Team P2 is bringing out Jin Hyung, and everybody's like, no way, Ace of P1 versus Ace of P2. And then they're like, okay, and finally from Team C, they're sending out Namhee. Oh yeah. But they enter the deathmatch room and there's 6 podiums, meaning that it's a 6-person deathmatch with only 1 loser. They were all originally getting ready to fight one another, but as the 3 of them are just forced to wait around together as Team R like treks through the woods, they're like, wait, 3 of the members of the rookie team are gonna be here. There's 3 of us. They're all gonna, like, team up against us. We should just team up. And so they form a temporary alliance here. Back in Team R's a homeless encampment, after they find out one person doesn't have to do the deathmatch, they take a vote. And even though Kwakbum said he would go, he's like, I'm the leader, I'm gonna go. They end up voting for him to sit this one out as their oldest member. I appreciate Guanhee's analogy where he said, if this was a basketball team, like, he's the point guard, Yeonchung's the center, Sangyoung's the phantom 6th man, and Kwakbum is unfortunately a G League player, so he shouldn't play. That's very Snakebird coded, that analogy. But once the 6 deathmatch players are gathered, they explain the rules. The first deathmatch of the season is called Mosaic Puzzle. It's a tile placement game where everyone gets a 4x4 grid and they take turns like picking out tiles to try and make the longest chain of one color. Not really, but I'm gonna get into it, okay? It's hard to explain. By this point, I was already pretty sure that Taekyun was gonna live, so yay. But once he started explaining the different strategies to win the game, any remnants of anxiety I had vanished when I realized he was gonna be the main commentator for the deathmatch. Thank God for that, by the way, because since Zitza was the main commentator for the first 2 episodes, hearing Taekyun narrate instead of him now was like hearing music for the first time. To a certain degree, the game was decided before it even began, as the 6 of them have to pick a random number to decide turn order, and when I saw the turn order, even though Taekyun is last, because Jin Hyung is right before him, he can basically get any tile he wants. And so Jin Hyung, on the other hand, during this game, never got the tile he wanted, and that's just literally because of the turn order. When I saw that, I was like, yes! The only threat to Taekyun now would be for Jin Hyung. famous for betrayal, by the way, would be for him to betray him. But Taekyon immediately shut this down to the viewer because in his commentary, he's narrating it, and he's like, Jin Hyung took like 10 years to place his first tile, and when he did, he didn't even place it in the best spot. So after watching that, he just knew he would be safe from elimination because he like literally cannot win like that. Like once you place your tile, you can't rotate it. And so Taekyon was saying like off first move, like he's definitely getting more points than Jin Hyung in this game forever, and so he's safe. This was actually a bit of insurance from Taekyon because he could have helped Jin Hyung place the tile better, and he didn't, despite them being allies. Because at the end of the day, like Taekyon's got to make it back to P1, right? If Jin Hyung's making mistakes that only affect him, that's just on him. All that being said, at some point, Taekyon just like took pity on Lil Bro, and he just starts fully helping him place his tiles because he just kept on making mistakes, and he really couldn't afford to anymore since Team R can force him to get any tiles they want. And so in his interview, like Jin Hyung just told the camera, like half jokingly, yeah, guys, I think Taekyon is smarter than me, just straight up. And from, you know what, from a man like him, that is high praise, okay? You can watch my predictions video, but as a Team P1 loyalist, I was worried that Taekyon wouldn't be great, and I never, like, in a million years thought he'd be the single best player in the game, but he is by a large margin. Like, right now, it is not even close. The one factor in this game that could have shaken things up a bit is that Namhee, truly by accident actually, ended up offending Team R, and so Gwanhee asks to ally with Taekyon and he declines. Halfway through the deathmatch, the Taekyon, Jinhyung, Namhee alliance is doing pretty well, and so Namhee just starts leaking their plans to Team R out of sympathy. I don't know if this was like a road to hell is paved with good intentions moment, or if she like spiritually inherited her team leader's lack of game sense, but either way, the room was not red. She looks over to Team R and sees them struggling, and so she just goes up to Gwanhee and Sungyang like, hey guys, horrible predicament we found ourselves in, I know, but alas, such is life. I would just like to let you guys know, though, that I will be attacking you guys from heaven. You know, you two specifically, you two are my targets. And Gwanhee specifically is just really put off of this. He's like, why are you speaking to us like that? Like, that's pretty disrespectful. She's definitely giving them sympathy here, which is like a completely different type of disrespect in the situation. But actually, Gwanhee explains that she came off as arrogant, like she just has no manners. And then to make matters worse, she tries to hit an ISO on Yunchung. Namhee just saw Yunchung standing alone, and so she pulled up on her like, hey, yeah, look, we're gonna win, so maybe you should stop working with those guys and work with us. Like, we'll take you in. And immediately, yo, Gwanhee and Sungyang just see this and they just rush over like teachers bearing witness to schoolyard bullying. Okay, they're like, yo, like what are you doing? Like back off, bro. Like we're trying to play the game. Like stop bothering my teammate. She just fails to understand that anytime a team is isolated in the outdoor survival area or basement level this early in the game, their bond is just too strong to be broken, right? Like especially with such a weak proposal. Like she can see the dirt on their clothes and smell the garlic from their hands, but she doesn't get that the three of them have like really bonded with one another. Meanwhile, you just met with these people, okay? But even after she keeps poking the bear, and eventually Taekyon had to like step in and bring her aside like, yo, like stop trolling, just chill. I don't know if it's because of this or the experience of being thrown out to the woods with nothing but garlic to eat, probably both, but Gwanhee stood on business. I feel like it was from this moment that he really locked in and stepped up as the rookie team's ace, where he pivoted his focus from spatial awareness gameplay to playing politics, which I think is more to his strength. In Kuroko no Basket, this is called the zone. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But I love the execution here. He just casually put his arm around Jinhyung and then turned to Taekyon, which effectively isolates both of them, right? And then he just got right to it. Like he asks very amicably, like bro to bro, like, hey, is there any way we can save this dude and just eliminate her instead? And I like this because there's a certain amount of honesty, openness, and straightforwardness to it, which I think a lot of guys tend to like and reciprocate, and it comes off without unnecessary malice. So this is actually like I think it's just a really wonderful shot by Gwanhee. If it wasn't taken, the deal might have actually went through. But even though he really considered it, to Jin Hyung's dismay, he ended up declining the trade, which ensures that Namhee lives through the deathmatch. I would have preferred it actually if they took that deal, but Taekyon is just not a crazy out-of-the-box political player. Like he made an alliance with Jin Hyung last time because it was the only option to physically win the game, but his playstyle is very much conservative and individualist, right? Like he's good at games and he knows it, so I think he'd always rather just compete directly if possible. It's other players like Sangmin who have to be creative to stay competitive. Ooh, I like that. That was good. That was good! His explanation was actually really interesting to me, where he's like, I'm allied with both Namhee and Jin Hyung, but I actually don't particularly care like which one of them goes home, because he worked with Jin Hyung a lot already, and he was stressed for him during the second half of the deathmatch. Okay, a man does not get that personally invested in another man's trials and tribulations unless they possess at least like a sliver of attachment to them. All right. That being said, it would benefit him and his team more if Jin Hyung fails here. Ultimately, though, I think he declined the deal because he just doesn't want to get involved in unnecessary drama. I think he thought about it and was like, you know what? I'm guaranteed to survive the deathmatch. Like, I'm good. I'm gonna keep my hands clean, okay? Not get involved and focus on the next money challenge. It is what it is. He helped Jinhyung a lot already. You know, he continues to help him, but betraying an allied member for him is just too far. But the last part of the deathmatch is now that everybody's board is filled with tiles, they get 30 minutes to try and rearrange it to try and score more points. And so this becomes essentially a 1v1 between Jinhyung and Choi Yunchung, who are the bottom 2 players, since the other 4 players, no matter what, are safe because they have scores too high to be beaten. To be beaten. Oh, did I say beaten? Jinhyung finally locked in for this. Taken said it the best, where his survival instincts must have finally kicked in. Everybody knows Jinhyung's good at games, but if you take a look at his discography, I've said this a lot before, but his playstyle is characterized by making mistakes and yet always somehow managing to survive to the next round, even when it's unsightly. Okay, this is actually one of the most fair and clean victories I think I've seen from him. But with his back towards the wall, he achieved true flow state, right? Going off nothing but instinct, he managed to rearrange the board twice over with additional points, giving him the win. Choi Yunchung, very unfortunately, did not give a good performance here, as in the first place, the way she placed her tiles and oriented them was just not very good. Like, there were multiple times during the deathmatch where Jinhyung and Taekyun, since the playing field is open, everybody could see everybody's boards, and so they could just see the inefficiency and gauge how many points Jinhyung would need to recoup to beat her score, as they could accurately gauge her score since it was limited. Also sad for Sungyang, who actually very sneakily was playing the game well. Taekyun at one point said that they considered pivoting, so going for Sungyang instead of Yunchung, because his score was also one of the lowest. But since he placed his tiles strategically, aka he just placed them well, right? Like, he put them down well, oriented them well, so that in the long run, there was no way to stop him from getting points. But Sungyang and Taekyun actually treated this part of the deathmatch like a World Cup watch party. They were each just watching their respective team members, praying for them to win. Bro, Taekyun started shaking when he saw like that Jinhyung managed to find another point, but he just wasn't moving to notify the dealer. He was like internally like, come on, bro, like, please, like, just go submit it. Like, what are you doing? But since they can't communicate at all, he can do is just like silently crash out in the back, just like Jihu later. Foreshadowing, but that is another good #boyhood moment, actually. But yes, the deathmatch ends with Yunchung getting eliminated, meaning that Team R is down to 3 members. That was devious Korean editing at the end, though, where they made it seem like she managed to get more points than Jinhyung, but actually she just like couldn't find a way forward, and so she got up to ask the dealer for help instead. Man, bro. The deathmatch survivors return to their respective teams, and Taekyun is rightfully celebrated like a war hero. The vibes are just immaculate for Team P1. Team P2 honestly had better vibes than I expected, because Jinhyung just comes back dancing, and the boys are relieved to see him. I wonder if they knew just how close he was to cutting it, because once he leaves, the reality kind of sets in, like, okay, guys, we sent that guy out to the deathmatch, like, fairly unwillingly, and he survived. So it might be time for us now to like step up and actually like put ourselves at risk too. And Sungju's like, nah. Sungju's funny because it seems like he's half joking, like he really means it, but he's saying it like a joke, you know? He's like, nah, now that Jinhyung's come back, he's forgiven for his actions in season 2. So now, like, we don't have to put ourselves at risk, like, we're all equal. After watching this episode though, bro, karma swinging back for you, buddy. The vibes for Team C, though, are horrendous. Like, Namhee returns, and they can't even be that happy for her because they just threw her out. In a way that was very much like, we're abandoning you. So Yoo-hyun actually tries to pay reparations by being like, look, like, if we do the deathmatch again, you don't have to go. But the damage has already been done, right? Like, there's just no trust here anymore. They get everyone together in the main hall, including Team R, for the second money challenge. And actually here, Jimin's like, wait, Jinhyung, what does your shirt say? And he turns around, and he's in a t-shirt, a black t-shirt with a hoodie over it. And the black t-shirt has words. And so he opens it up and it just says, survival is proof of strength. Dude, like, Jinhyung's funny. Like, he came with props. Like, I know he gets so much hate in Western, like, forums and, like, discussion and stuff. Like, I showed Bloody Game to my friend and he also really hated Jinhyung. But, like, that's funny. Come on, he came with props! Like, that's so sick! But this part I had to go rewatch since I misunderstood it when I watched the episode, but they revealed this round's elimination format, okay? So the money challenge this time is Mystery Time 2, a sequel to the original Mystery Time game from Season 3. Emphasis on Season 3, though, because Team P3 is already in the lead, right? And so when they heard that they were going to be playing Mystery Time again this season, they were just rightfully overjoyed. Like, Sungbum is literally the champion of this game. He won it before. And since the 4 of them are the only ones to have played the game before, they already have strategies to win. As a viewer, Mystery Time is also just one of my favorite games. Like, I really enjoyed the more freeform games like this. How it works is that production shows them an AI-generated image and they craft the story behind it without telling anyone. And so players have to ask questions one by one to the dealer about the photo to, like, try and figure out the story. And then once they think they understand the story, they can try to tell the story back to the dealer. And so if production approves of that retelling, that team wins. They reveal that there's going to be 2 rounds of this, which I'm pretty sure is the same as last season. So all 5 teams compete in the first round. The first team to figure out the story wins, and then the round just ends there, right? The winning team actually doesn't even have to do the second round at all. Like, they're just safe from elimination and they can just chill like the rest of the day. But here's where I got confused, okay? So the winner of the second round also doesn't have to do the deathmatch. So 2 teams this time will be safe from elimination, all right? That's the first thing. But for the second round, they play the round out in its entirety, even after a team figures out the story. The deathmatch this time is going to be a 1v1, where the last team to figure out the story, the person who asked the most questions has to compete no matter what. But out of the other 2 teams who couldn't figure out the story quick enough, between the 2 players who asked the least questions, everyone will get a chance to vote on which of the 2 of them they want to go 1v1 the guy from the losing team. Hopefully that makes sense. Honestly, I think it is just very confusing, especially if you haven't seen the show, so this explanation is mainly for me. But the first round of the money challenge finally starts, and we immediately have this arms race for information, which actually I think turns out to be pretty useless, so I could skip it. But that being said, I will go over it because I just think it's kind of fun, even though it didn't end up amounting to anything. While P3 had a huge advantage going into this game as like the only ones who have played it before, arguably, P2 had a bigger advantage in that they managed to finesse semi-unilateral aid from P3 during round 1, right? So basically any progress that P3 makes into figuring out the story and any information they find is immediately shared with P2. And they don't even have to share any of their findings back or information back, right? And honestly, this should have not been as effective as it was because it's unrealistic, like as it sounds. But actually, it was all that, and I'll explain. Before the money challenge, Team P3 was just chilling in their room when suddenly Team P2 enters and they just hit them with a W press. Because they just said like, all right, like yesterday we made a long-term alliance, we made you guys win the money challenge, we risked our golden boy Jinhyung in the deathmatch, and you guys got to just sit back and relax, right? So today it's time to return the favor, you guys help us win the money challenge and we're good to go, right? And Jinho says, man, like that's crazy. Yeah, we're not doing that, little bro. And he just started walking back everything. Like this super long and drawn out argument happens where they argue about details and semantics. And I don't know if you guys have ever argued with someone before who just refuses to be wrong, but this is exactly what happens. Like it just draws out so long and you almost always have to exit the conversation unsatisfied and without what you want. But these Korean editors are so devious. They were absolutely just exposing Jinho. Every sentence he says is immediately debunked with his own words through editing. He was like, what? Long-term alliance? Nobody here agreed to that. And they would just immediately cut to him yesterday being like, yo, I'm telling you guys. Team P2, Team P3, long-term alliance. Help us win today, and I'm there for you no matter what. Respect to Zitza, man. Like, this man is both the carrot and the stick, okay? He has so many bad moments, and yet somehow so many good moments. And this is one of the times where he just decided to be an honorable guy. Like, I saw the announcement that he's going to be on Devil's Plan Season 3. First of all, how many times is this guy going to ally with Jinho? But for, you know what? For how many survival shows he's done, landing a mainstream opportunity like that, I think is actually well-deserved. Team P2's arguing with Jinho like, wait, like, hold on a minute. Zitza came into our room and told us you'd help us, like, win today. Zitza, don't tell me you forgot that. And the clip plays of Zitza entering Team P2's room and being like, guys, I don't know about this, like, long-term partnership thing, but the one thing I can assure you is that tomorrow, we will help you win the money challenge. That is the one thing I can guarantee you. And Jinho turns to Zitza and he's like, is that true? You said that? And even though Zitza could have probably gotten away, like, without admitting it, he's like, yeah, it's true. I said that to them. So respect to him for that, for sure. But Jinho immediately pivots and says, okay, well, I don't know why he said that, Zitza. We gotta have a talk later. But you know what, guys? Zitza doesn't even call the shots around here. I do. Yo, I swear this is like the first time I've seen this man step up like this. And it's to give the most dastardly walkback of all time. Like, where was this energy yesterday? Like when Sungbum and Zitza were fighting. This is somehow even worse than Ha Sung-jin not doing the deathmatch, even though he mass advertised it to everybody that he would. And we're talking about Jinho here. Like, it really must be so hard to be a Jinho fan. After a bunch of bickering, Team P2 ends up walking away with essentially a scam deal, right? Like, yesterday they put their whole heart and soul into helping Team P3 win, and today they end up with what? This agreement that Team P3 can go ahead and win the game too if they're smart enough to figure out the story, which they are. But along the way, if they find out any nice clues, they'll kindly, out of the kindness of their heart, let P2 know. Look, in this game, any sliver of information is helpful. It's funny, you know, one of the excuses Jinho tries to use is he's like, Jinhyung, this is a game where too many cooks spoils the broth. Therefore, we should not team up. And Jinhyung's like, I mean, I helped you guys yesterday. We all did, so you could just give us more cooks. And that argument is actually correct, because this is a game where more cooks equals more questions, which equals more information, right? So Jinho was heavily downplaying that. But Team P2 is very understanding of the fact that what's going to happen here is Team P3 is just going to give them useless information and just call it a day, right? Like Sungju says it the best. He's like, this is not even 10% of the help that we gave Team P3 yesterday. But you know what? Like, at the end of the day, Team P3 is trying to win, right? They're trying to win the show, and so they have the right goal in mind where they should want to win today's money challenge and secure safety from today's deathmatch, right? Like, no matter what happened in the past, giving up the win today to Team P2 and in today's money challenge is just inherently a bad move, since putting your team at risk at all when it's avoidable is a bad move. This is a very convoluted scene as it's all politics, but actually the more I think about it, the more like I feel like it must have been the best decision for Jinho and Team P3 to be that flaky, annoying, and non-committal to Team P2. I personally just dislike people like that, but if you look at the result of this conversation, going into the money challenge, Team P3 is able to go play for the win, right? And with the blessing and consent of Team P2. Like, of course, they still hold a grudge towards them, but actually because of how convoluted things got between them, the relationship between the two teams is actually relatively more amicable than if Team P3 just betrayed them straight up or do what I originally thought would have been a good option, which is to just say they'll help them and then like betray them at the end, be like, yeah, let's play together. And at the end of the game, be like, no, we're betraying you. But again, I thought that scene was super fun, so that's my interpretation of it. But I also think it's super useless, like not in totality, but in analysis, for 3 reasons though. The first is that Team P3 ended up helping Team P2 way more than expected. Sungbum understood the assignment, okay? Like Jinhyung would ask him for info and he would just give him random meaningless info, which is what Team P2 thought was gonna happen. But they actually got a lot of help from P3. Because all the information like Sungbum tried to hide, Jinho just told P2. Like he told them all the keywords and there's only 5, okay? I don't know if Jinho wanted to honor the agreement or if he thought it just like wasn't that important, but he gave them like basically all the keywords when even one keyword is a huge help to win the game. Secondly, in this game, even a bit of insight goes a long way. So even though Team P2 got a lot of help from Team P3, which could, by the way, be in large part because of Jinhyung, who just never gave them any space. Like anytime they tried to whisper, he would appear from their blind spot like Kisagi from Blue Lock, to the point where Sungbum or Zitsu, I forgot who, was like, yo, I think I almost kissed Jinhyung's ear by accident because his ear was like right by their mouth like all the time. So he finessed so much information that way. But yes, even though Team P3 helped them more than expected, actually the scam deal wasn't that much of a scam, since even a bit of the correct information could just completely recontextualize your understanding of a scene and lead to your team winning. The third thing though, which I think truly makes this all useless, is that as the game progressed and people asked all their questions, everybody just ended up in a deadlock. Like for hours, like until the sun came up. So we have this crazy arms race, right? With teams plotting and scheming for information. We'd have this crazy battle just for everyone to end up with the exact same information and nobody can make progress anymore. That's like, I don't know, poetic. Like everybody figured out the story except for one part. This fictional dude died and nobody could figure out how he died. There were so many strategies implemented for this game, and as a Team P1 supporter, I of course loved Sangmin's infinite question strategy, where to ask questions to the dealer, everybody has to line up single file in this small hallway. Sungbum actually jokes about this. I'm thinking whether I should say the joke or not because it probably isn't funny in English. But he's like, the lineup to the voting room looked like a lineup to a Dubai chocolate cookie, right? So by the time we got there, it was out of stock or something like that. But everyone's all clumped together here lining up to ask questions, right? So if you imagine like a concert when you're so huddled up with people, you can't really see anything other than the people who are right next to you, like your immediate vicinity, right? So how the question room works is that you only get 3 questions, it's one at a time, and then you have to leave the room. But if nobody goes in after you, you can just go back in. So Team P1 just like shields the door from everyone's vision. Again, I don't want to hear anybody saying Big Woo's useless when he's the reason they won the first come first serve opening game. And now he's moving like Gigantamax Snorlax for the team, okay? That's way more useful than Yuhyun, which we'll get to that, okay? Ha Sungjin, who will probably be useful on the day of ambush, honestly. But that's like his only thing though. Yunbi, Yunchung, Kwakbum, Namhee, and Jimin too, unfortunately. But yes, they end up blocking the entrance of the room from view, and Sangmin just infinitely farms the dealer for information while nobody else gets to ask any questions. A quantity over quality approach, the complete opposite of P3. That's just so beautiful, man. Like, who would even think to do that? That's like the dude who invented pendulum summoning. But since there was a deadlock, all the cool strategies like the ones I just mentioned just did not matter, right? Since the game boiled down to this guy died, how did he die? First team to figure out wins. And so everybody's just throwing out shots in the dark. This is why my MVP for this episode is Hyesun, because during this episode, she only did one thing, and it was by and large the most important thing. She figured out how the dude died. She was like, I wonder if this guy died because of the rancidity of the body. And so she lines up for the dealer, and she's like, I'd like to submit an answer. She tells the whole story, and at the end, she's like, and he takes a drill, and he drills into the accomplice's body, and the rancidity of the body kills him. And the dealer just looks at her, and she's like, yeah, that's correct. Your team wins. And she just screams. Actually, everybody on Team P3 celebrates like they won the World Cup. Again, rightfully so, since they were playing this game for 5 hours. So the primary victor of the money challenge is Team P3, winning the in-game prize money, making their lead in monetary wealth even larger than it already is. They get an extra voting ticket too to try to send someone to the deathmatch later, but honestly, like, who cares about that, bro? And of course, they win the ultimate prize, which is safety from the deathmatch yet again, right? 2 money challenges won in a row, 2 deathmatches avoided. This is the second time this game has appeared in the Bloody Game franchise, and Sungbum has now won it twice. Congrats to them. But alas, the other 4 teams now have to run this game back, and so round 2 of the second money challenge begins. The thing I want to note here is that a new strategy is being implemented, which both did not and could not happen for round 1, which is that an alliance was formed between Team R and Team P2. A real alliance, by the way, not like whatever you want to call the relationship between P2 and P3 in round 1. Why an alliance theoretically works here is that in round 1, there's only one winner, and the game immediately ends once a team wins, so there's actually no point in teaming up. But in round 2, even though only the winning team is free from the deathmatch, they can for sure help the allied team come in second. And that's important because since only one person between the second and third place teams is sent to the deathmatch, and it's a vote, it's not foolproof, of course, but there's a good chance that the allied team's deathmatch candidate won't be chosen since they have the guaranteed support of 2 teams. So essentially, if you form an alliance here, again, not guaranteed, but there's a decent chance that nobody from the alliance will have to partake in the deathmatch if they win. Foreshadowing. Team P1 actually tried to ally with Team R first, but Jinhyung inadvertently snaked Taekyun. I have mixed feelings about this because it made me think, right? Like, man, Taekyun helped Jinhyung so much on the show already. Maybe he should have got him eliminated in the deathmatch, but if he's gonna act like this, which he kind of did his best to be honest, since he declined Gwanhee's offer to guarantee Jinhyung's safety and made sure Jinhyung's board wasn't efficient in round 1. But with this, ultimately, Jinhyung didn't mean it, right? Like, it was a misunderstanding, and in fact, he was the one being defensive and reactionary because Team P1 thought that Team R was the better choice to ally with, and since Taekyun has worked with Jinhyung twice already, he just thought it would be, I don't know, nice to like let him know that he's not doing anything like that this round. And so he goes to Jinhyung, tells him this. The way Jinhyung takes it though, is that he's like, oh, he's only telling me this because Team P1 and Team C have already like allied together, which is just wrong. Like, he misunderstood the situation, and in reacting to that information, inadvertently ended up making his team better off. Because Team P1 and Team R were set to ally with one another, and it's Jinhyung who comes up to Team R like, yo, I think P1 is allying with Team C, which he believes, even though it's not true. But it's the seed of uncertainty which he planted in Gwanhee by saying that false information to him, which made Team R ultimately ally with Team P2 instead of Team P1. So it's like just this weird roundabout way of that coming about. I don't know. So the second round of the money challenge starts, and not gonna lie, like, I was tuning out, right? Like, I was ready to call it a day, go to bed, work on this video, because yeah, the episode is over 4 hours long, okay, which made this a bit of an endeavor. But at this point, Team P3 is already cemented as the overall winner of the day, and so it was just inherently less interesting for me to see people fight over second place when Team P3 is not in the mix. But even more than that, I was just convinced that this was going to be a stomp. Like, the 7-person alliance that they made, it was just so strong. This time the photo is a picture of a motorcycle crash, or what looks like that, and so immediately the Team P2, Team R alliance hit like 3 of the 5 keywords. It was crazy. Like, their guesses were so good. I think I definitely failed the Team P1 loyalty test here. Because I was just like, man, like, wrap it up, boys. Like, let's just wrap it up, okay? Like, I don't know who we're gonna send to the deathmatch, but we gotta figure it out. Game's over. I got so much love for Big Woo now, but yo, he actually was really dead weight here. Like, he was the only member of the team to go see the photo hint of the calendar, and so he saw this picture of the calendar, and his conclusion was none of the dates in the calendar are useful, right? And so he reported that to Taekyun, and Taekyun, thank God for this man, bro. He put the team on his back. He ran up the entire mansion, like ground floor to top floor. He put in all this work just to verify Big Woo's information, bro. W Taekyun, bro. But finally, let's talk about Team C. Now, even though Team P2 and Team R teamed up for this round, Team P1 and Team C did not do the same. Okay, no matter what Jinhyung says, they didn't, okay? They decided to play separately, which I think is a bad move since they're just letting Team P2 and Team R have an advantage over them without adapting. But Team C actually does pretty well, like, this round on their own. I think the biggest factor in this is that Kang Ji-hoo steps up. This man got rolled, okay, by the way, in University War Season 3. But now he's kind of smurfing in a bronze lobby. And I think the thing to consider now, though, is that why is he stepping up now? And to answer that, I think we gotta flash back a bit to the first round of this money challenge. Going into the money challenge, Team C is on life support. Like, they're all still gonna try and make it work, but again, Ji-hoo has witnessed some very questionable Yuhyun decisions, and Namhee was a victim of one. The reason I didn't talk about Team C much in round 1 is because they just had horrible team chem. Like, they still actually caught up with the other teams because it ended up being a deadlock, but man, was it one of the journeys of all time. Kyunghoon and Yuhyun spend most of the money challenge arguing, and we actually get a bit of a breakdown from the two of them on why they think that they don't work well together. Between the two of them, I do think Kyunghoon is more in the right. I think his playstyle is more suited to this game, as it's one which rewards creativity and out-of-the-box thinking, which is his forte. I think Yuhyun does poorly in this game because A, he's the team leader, and so he leads the team poorly here, making all the wrong calls. B, he's also the reason that they're going into this with bad morale and no camaraderie since he led the team poorly in the past. C, I think his playstyle is not suited to this specific game since he's such a logician, right? Like, he's pitching ideas to his team which he considers to be reasonable, and he just puts up an incredibly poor performance because all his ideas are wrong. Meanwhile, Kyung-hoon, who also has a lot of wrong guesses, is at least able to come close to the truth and make a couple of right guesses. And that's the point of the game, right? Like, everyone's gonna have wrong guesses, but who is capable of having a correct guess? Not Yoo-hyun, right? Bro, Kyung-hoon's like, oh, I have a question. What if he died by suffocation? And Yoo-hyun's like, bro, that's dumb. Like, don't ask that. Spoiler alert, he did in fact die of suffocation. But that kind of leadership is what's keeping them from victory. That's why Jihoo ended up stepping up, because they already threw the first money challenge for no reason, right? Like, the team morale is at an all-time low, and now Jihoo is sitting here watching them argue the whole episode, and he's like, you know what, guys? Like, I'm the youngest, but it gets to a point, right? Like, I almost forgot this was the point. And he says, you know what, guys? I don't care anymore. I'm in charge, okay? We are doing things my way, right? And so this was actually, I think, really well accepted by the team, since Kyung-hoon and Yoo-hyun were just so exhausted from one another that they were like, you know what? Go for it, little bro. Like, why not? And so he's like, all right, sick. And so he tells Yoo-hyun, like, okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the dealer and ask if he's died of suffocation. And Yoo-hyun is like, oh my, please don't do that. Like, that's just a waste of a question. And Jihoo's like, yeah, sure, whatever you say, bro. And so he goes to the dealer and he asks the dealer if he died of suffocation. So the dealer's like, of course he did, bro. He comes out, he's like, Yoo-hyun, he died of suffocation. And Yoo-hyun's like, oh, he actually did? Oh, okay, well, I got ideas. Like, bro, take some responsibility, man. I saw a post on Reddit that was like, Yoo-hyun's the MVP of episode 2. And in a way, he kind of was, because he's the reason his own team lost and another team won. Like, in these first 3 episodes, I can't recall a single decision that Yoo-hyun made which was beneficial for his team. But in the second round of the money challenge, Team C actually does well. I think that if you're going to go like at this game as a logician, Jihoo's way is the best to do it. Because as a university working contestant, of course, he uses the binary search method, where you cut the possibilities in half every time you ask a question. I think the game leaves room for politics and rewards creativity, but if you're just playing independently and like very risk averse, that strategy is probably your best bet, right? Like, I think it's not even comparable to whatever Yoo-hyun was doing, because he just didn't have a strategy. But Team C actually puts up a pretty good fight against the Team P2 and Team R alliance. Meanwhile, my beloved Team P1 doesn't even have a single keyword. So Team C is right behind the 7-person alliance. They need just a couple more questions to win, but the alliance is probably a bit closer. But then suddenly, Yoo-hyun just starts swearing. And I'm like, oh my god, what is this? And it's the announcer. And they're like, the winner of the game is Team P1. What? I cannot believe I was a victim of Korean editing, because I've seen like so many of these shows, but because of the clips they showed, it just seemed so unfathomable to me that Team P1 could win. Like, they just showed so many clips of all the other teams making such fast progress without Team P1 getting a single keyword. It just looked so one-sided. I was sat there so tuned out after P3 won with just a crazy headache from sitting down too long. Then I just like suddenly look up and there's a celebration scene with Big Woo and Jimin yelling. Sangmin sitting there smiling, and then it cuts to Taekhyun, hand over his eyes like Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist. I don't even know how we got there, but I was ready to make like the craziest Taekhyun glaze video known to man. I was like, Taekhyun's the MVP, bro. I don't care. Like, he's Jalen Brunson. This was his episode, okay? 7-person alliance where everyone's punching up above their skill level, and with no alliance, no help, nothing, just pure skill. He went out there, dropped 5 keywords on them, sent them to the deathmatch, even after Jin Hyung snaked him from having his own alliance. That's generational, bro. This thumbnail on this video was about to be me doing the Jalen Brunson's pose just because of that, bro. That, oh my. Because he was so close, Jihoo was in shock, bro. He was like, I thought maybe we'd lose to the alliance, maybe, but never to Team P1. His takeaway is actually the same as mine, which was that Taekhyun is really just that goated, until I found out the, yeah. Jimin couldn't even take it anymore. She got so excited that she turned to Jin Hyung and said, what, you guys formed an alliance? Well, guess what? Y'all dead now, okay? Start prepping for the death match, buddy. Way too early of a celebration, by the way, since we got many money challenges and death matches to go. But I love to see it, you know? And it's a deserved, in a way. Jin Hyung, by the way, by the pillar molding, okay? Props to the cameraman for that nice, like, framed shot. But of course, you guys know. The biggest factor in this game was actually omitted from the viewer until now. So as celebrations start up, the camera cuts to Kyung-hoon and he starts talking and something's off, right? Like, you can tell. His team's in shambles and he's just showing a lot of apathy towards the outcome, like he doesn't really care. And then we get a Kyung-hoon Sangmin flashback. Like, what? This was mind-blowing to me when I first watched it. They show footage from an hour before, so like the middle of the second round of the money challenge. And so Team P1 actually was performing really poorly this round, like it wasn't a joke. They just couldn't figure out the scenario and couldn't make any progress. But there's a moment where Sangmin and Kyung, like he sees Kyunghoon sitting alone in the main hall, and he walks up to him and he says like, "Hey, do you have anything to say to me?" Probably just to farm a bit, to be honest. But he initiates this conversation with him, and they start talking. And Kyunghoon's like, "Actually, yeah, I do have something to say. Do you want to team up? Because I see the other teams have already teamed up." And Sangmin declines this, which I was thinking about it. In any other scenario, that would have been a bad move in this game. But because there's 4 teams and 2 of them decide to pair up, I feel like the other 2 teams pairing up in retaliation is the best move. Also considering that later they're going to have to vote. And you know what's better than a 7-person alliance? An 8-person alliance, you know? Why I think my GOAT actually made a good move declining this is that he made possibly the best counter offer specific to Kyunghoon. Because he said, "Listen, if you help my team win here, I'll give you whatever you want. Money, voting ticket, whatever." And Kyunghoon said, "Listen, if you can try to keep me out of the deathmatch later, we have a deal." And so Kyunghoon just completely decides to sell out his team. Last review, I said that long-term partnerships in the series never do well because it hardly ever makes sense. The 3-team alliance in the first money challenge didn't make sense because 2 out of the 3 teams are put at risk while only 1 team benefits. Because look, it's a survival show, right? You want to survive. If you're putting yourself at risk, there better be a good reason. Again, last season, Dongmin, he put himself at risk by going to the deathmatch to solidify his alliance, prove himself, and if nothing else, for pure entertainment value. Those are all very good reasons. Here in the spin-off, you are also responsible for taking care of your team members in addition to yourself. So even more so, I think the priority should be to win the money challenge and ensure that your own team is safe from the deathmatch. I saw some people online be like, "Oh my god, why did Kyunghoon sell out his team? Why would he do that? That doesn't make sense." When I saw this, I thought it just made perfect sense. Like, I've been lacing it throughout this episode, but if you couldn't catch it, I think he just hates his team. There was a scene in round 1 of this money challenge where Kyunghoon is arguing with Yoohyun in the line to the dealer's room. As I said before, to be able to ask the dealer questions, everybody lines up single file in this hallway. And so everybody's waiting time in between questions is just really long, since after you ask 3 questions, you have to go back in the line and queue up. Unless, of course, you're Sangmin and you come up with some crazy scheme to bypass that. Kyunghoon is at the front of the line, about to get his turn to ask the dealer questions, but because he gets fed up with Yoohyun, he just walks out of the line to go sit down for a bit. One of the best decisions I made in my youth, and I didn't make a lot of good decisions, which kind of makes me sound like I did drugs. But one of the best decisions in my youth was quitting this game. It's pretty underground. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called League of Legends. I started playing in season 2 when this guy called Rengar came out, but I played for maybe 2 years before deciding that I would rather have a happy and prosperous life. In that game, there's a lot of nice behavioral concepts that people have decided to give names to, such as inting, throwing, or running it down. It's this weird thing where it's a team game, but since it's never your fault, if you have bad teammates, the more you play, the more you want your team to lose, since it's like some sort of divine retribution in which you are the only winner. Team C has no camaraderie and no trust. Like, Namhee got thrown under the bus, so she's upset. Jihu is upset with the leadership, but props to him for actually trying to keep it together. And now Kyunghoon and Yoohyun are upset with each other too. So I think he got so exhausted with his team that he just decided to start thinking of this show as an individual game. Like, you know what? I don't care which team wins anymore, as long as I'm safe to the next round. Like, he's just super checked out. I watched back the deal he made with Sangmin, and it is actually quite the scam deal. The exact verbiage is that Kyunghoon will give Sangmin information in return for help if he becomes the deathmatch candidate, but he actually didn't even end up becoming the deathmatch candidate, right? So he just kind of let them win for free. He got nothing in return except the moral satisfaction of having enacted retribution upon the team members that annoyed him. If Kyunghoon wants to cash out on this deal on another day, it could happen. Sangmin might vouch for him. I actually do think he would help him out if he asked. But also, this is a betrayal show. So for now, Kyunghoon got exactly what he wanted, and he also got super finessed by Team P1. Taekyun still did well. He guessed the answer with like 3 out of the 5 keywords or something, which is crazy. So he did what he had to do to close out the game, but let's be honest, this is really Kyunghoon's victory. Like, he built this brick by brick from the ground up. As a Team P1 fan, I'm very happy that they're through to the next round, but since it wasn't completely earned, celebrating this is just like, When Jimin and Big Woo are celebrating and Sangmin is just like sitting completely still with a half-hearted smile, I feel like that, you know, like he gets it. It's conflicting to where, in a way, he's the one who made this win possible since he initiated the discussion with Kyunghoon and negotiated the terms of the deal himself. But he also understands that this is a victory given to them by Kyunghoon. Like, they literally could not progress further without him. They were stuck, right? Like, this guy turned into a whole search bar just for Taekyun. He goes up to him and he just answers every single question like imaginable. And Taekyun just like goes back to them like, guys, like, what's going on? Like, why is he helping us this much, like to this degree? But with the Forbidden link up complete, the Kingslayer x Black Magician synergy resulting in victory, The other teams are now left to fight for scraps, and since there's no point of an alliance anymore, each of the 3 remaining teams plays individually, and Team C ends up placing 3rd. Not sure how much of that is because of Kyunghoon. Securing 4th place with a late clutch is Sungyang from Team R. Gwanhee low-key went crazy this episode though with good leadership, always keeping the team morale high, and surprisingly good gameplay, you know? Like in the deathmatch, he had the highest amount of points with 31, even more than Taekyun, who had 25. Definitely overkill, since they were both more concerned about helping their teammates, but still impressive, right? Here, though, I think this is the first time where we see Gwanhee panic a bit and show a bit of weakness. He's like, man, I just thought for sure we were going to win with the 7-person alliance. Now I have no clue what to do. So good on Sungyang for clutching up. Although as soon as he wins, we get the scene of him going to the lunchroom, presumably to get food, and he just goes into the corner and starts crying. So it goes from bloody game to exchange war real fast, not gonna lie. I thought the episode was gonna end there and we were gonna get a honest sentiment. Even worse for Sungyang though is that Kwakbum finds him immediately. That's tough, but you know, I get it. Because he's like, man, everyone already went into the show thinking that Team R is weak, and now we've proved the haters right with our results. They lost the first come first serve team game, they lost Yeonchung in the deathmatch, and now they finally get to participate in a money challenge and they lose that too. That's just disappointing and frustrating, right? Sungyang, unless he goes crazy next couple episodes, might go down as my worst prediction for the show. I thought that he would be super villainous and a force to be reckoned with, but so far, I think he's just been nothing but kind and gentle to people. Therefore, his gameplay has been very average to below average, since this is just a cold-hearted betrayal show, okay? But coming in last, very surprisingly, is Team P2. This was a very heavy Jinhyung episode, but he ends up losing the money challenge again. In his interview, he kind of laughs about this a bit in his defeat, and he's like, you know what? Maybe we're just bad at games, but it just comes out kind of sad, honestly, since he's just been a big POV character, and he just has nothing to show for the journey so far. Alas, we get to the final scene of the episode, which is the deathmatch candidate announcement. Now, we get some glaze here for P3 and P1 as they are the 2 teams safe from elimination, but from Team P2, it's actually Sungju who is forced to compete in the next deathmatch. If you remember, this is because he essentially asked the most questions on the team that placed dead last. He's pretty annoyed by this as he's super big on self-preservation and risk aversion, just like his team leader. Low-key though, is Jinhyung their team leader or their ace? Like, probably their ace, right? No? Me personally, I've never been fully convinced that Sungju is that good. Like, I've always thought that he's insane at poker, but not much else. Like, if you look at his performance in Season 2, his huge accolade, which is a big accolade, of eliminating Yurisa in the deathmatch, was super impressive, but also in large part due to it being a betting game, which is his specialty. So if the deathmatch is a betting game, his opponent is just cooked, unless it's Yuhyun, which I guarantee it is actually. But as his opponent for the 1v1 will be decided with a vote between 2 candidates, we get to find out those 2 candidates now. Remember, these are the people on Team R and Team C who ask the least questions. So from Team R, it's Gwanhee, who, although he put up a great performance this episode, I think Sungju just low diss him, to be honest. But I just don't believe he goes because the other deathmatch candidate from Team C is, of course, Yuhyun. Thank the heavens, bro. We celebrated when Yuhyun got brought to Logtown, okay? It's about time. Because, dude, genuinely, what has this man done in these first 3 episodes besides actively make his team lose? Okay, that's worse than Jimin, Hasungjin, Namhee, all of them, okay? I swear this guy has displayed such a defeatist mindset. Like, he acts like he was held at gunpoint to appear on the show. Episodes 1 to 2, his one shining moment was ordering his entire team to lose the money challenge and let another team win. This episode, out of his 3 teammates, what? He condemned one to the deathmatch, he condemned one to silent crash outs, and then the other one just got tilted so bad, he just gave up on the team entirely and started playing for a different team. Like, honestly, if Yuhyun gets kicked, the team is probably better off, genuinely. Like, if Yuhyun gets eliminated next episode, I don't care. I'm buying a cake. I'm celebrating the whole episode, okay? I kid you not, the whole episode. Another thing they mentioned, though, is that if Gwanhee is sent to the deathmatch, which he won't be, okay, which he won't be, but if he theoretically was and he loses, the winner of the deathmatch will join Team R instead of going back to their original team. But just think about it, right? Team R wouldn't want Gwanhee to go because it puts him at risk, so they would vote Yuhyun. Team P2, who actually, another rule I didn't mention is that Team P2 is now in the outdoor survival area, okay? So they're being banished to the woods. They're probably going to end up peeling garlic. And they're going to have one less member if they vote Gwanhee. So they better vote Yuhyun. They have to vote Yuhyun because if they vote Gwanhee, Sungju is gone no matter what, right? Like, the only way he comes back is if they vote Yuhyun and he beats Yuhyun. This is because if they vote for Gwanhee and Gwanhee goes to the deathmatch, either way, Sungju can never come back to them. Because if Sungju loses, then he's kicked out of the show, but if he wins, he gets transferred over to Team R. Just in general, between Yuhyun and Gwanhee, everyone probably wants the stronger player out, which I think all players believe is Yuhyun. because I don't believe that. But I don't even think that Team C would vote for Guanhee, really. There's a pretty decent likelihood that at the very least Kyunghoon will be like, yo, we're in this position because of Yoohyun. Get in there, buddy. We even get a little preview for the deathmatch where Sungju looks up and chuckles a bit. Like he sees a familiar face, you know. There's no way he's doing that for Guanhee. I just refuse to believe it. Like it has to be Yoohyun. I'm manifesting it. I cannot believe this was longer than the last one, but you know what? I know this video is going to be late. So I'm sorry, okay? But that's the end of the episode. My MVP is Hyesun. The worst player is Yoohyun. I can't wait to see Sungju kick that man out next episode. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. That's it. Goodbye.